Welcome to the virtual lunch. Today is Friday, June 10th, and this is virtual lunch number 578. Our guest today is Dave Southard, a legal marketing and business development leader, and this is part of our series on revenue operations with our friends at Nexel. Hi, Dave. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? So glad to be here.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ben, and I help the wonderful people at Nexel do their jobs on a day-to-day basis and just try not to get in their way too much.
Most recently, and recently being a relative term, because I've been doing this for some time now, I've been in the law firm space. So I've had leadership roles in business development and marketing, business development, marketing operations at Baker McKenzie for a number of years, then also at Baker Hostetler, during a time when I'm proud to say that we were recognized by Acritas for a couple of years as the fastest growing brand in the law firm space. So that was exciting times indeed. And there were a number of things that we did there that were pretty cool, and hopefully I'll have a chance to touch on as well. And then, as I had mentioned just a little while ago, I had been the Chief Marketing and Business Development Officer at Choate for the past 2 years. And obviously, during very strange 2 years, but there were a number of very interesting things that we were doing there, and all which I look forward to talking about as well. But prior to that, I'd had experiences in other spaces as well. Had been at Ernst & Young, then EY. Actually, I was a recidivist, had started as a baby auditor when I first got out of college, but then came back in sales and marketing roles. And we did a lot of interesting things at that time. So I have that professional services firm experiences, as well as experience at a major advertising agency, or a couple of agencies actually, including DDB worldwide. And then finally, to kind of round out the whole picture, I did spend a number of years as an investor relations professional at a publicly traded company. And so the reason I mention that is because there's a thread that goes through all of these experiences, which I thought was important. I just wanted to note it, and that is that in every one of these experiences, whether I've been trying to help sell all-purpose household cleaner or salad dressings or beer or frozen novelties, some of the products that I did handle at the agency, or if it's a matter of helping to sell legal services to clients, or if it's a matter of helping to sell, consulting services to clients, or trying to help sell a company and a company's securities to the investment community. The point that I picked up throughout my career, and the consistency that there is with each one of these experiences, is you win when you understand client needs better than anybody else. And so much of the attention that I pay in the roles that I have, particularly in legal services, is to try and be an advocate for the client, be an advocate for the idea of digging as much and as deeply as we possibly can in order to understand these client needs better than anybody else. So I guess that's a kind of a core principle that I carry, probably the core principle above all else that is important to me in my experiences. And this concept of focusing on understanding client needs better than anybody else, it's not a new concept, right? It's not necessarily one that has been put into great practice all the time. I mean, I remember some of the early work that we were doing at EY, we were basing it on the work of Neil Rackham and the spin selling method. And so while that's, I think, a quite elegant approach, and it's a really interesting and I think very robust way to look at things, it's actually kind of difficult to get people who are, charged with billing 1,800 hours a year. And so they've got to work, 3,000 hours to get that 1,800 hours and so forth. If they're not doing selling all the time, if they're not having those kinds of development conversations all the time, it's tough for them to pick up all the nuances that make that particularly useful. And so again, the concept is not new. I think the ways in which we've tried to put it in place are evolving. Talking particularly about law firms, of course, many have been experimenting over the years with client teams, which is a wonderful idea, bringing the right people together to focus on the needs of a client. What I find that is that generally we probably don't dig deep enough, right? And we don't do enough of the work in terms of really understanding what the client's true needs and motivations are. I mean, when you're in a situation where you've got an RFP, they obviously lay out what they think their needs are, but oftentimes those are just kind of like the table stakes or the starting point. And so It's only when you really understand what's underneath that and what motivates each one of the people who are playing a role in that process that you're actually able to understand it and really win there. So client teams has been really useful in terms of helping to make that happen. Client feedback is invaluable, but there again, it's really astounding to me how few firms really go after that and really spend a lot of time talking to their clients and just asking them, how are we doing? What did you like best about what we did last? What are ways that we can help make things better? And so forth. So that's another thing that, again, they're starting to do more and more. I'm personally a guy who, in whatever role I'm playing, I'm advocating to do as much of that as we possibly can. Taking an industry focus is another thing that has happened more and more. It's another way that the law firm industry is changing. And I think it's for the good too, because if you think about what industry focus is, it's essentially a client team approach writ large across a number of different enterprises. It's enterprises, if they're working in a similar industry sector, they oftentimes have similar kinds of issues that they're facing and similar kinds of needs. And so that's an effective tool, I think, that, again, various stages of implementation at this point across the law firm space, but I think overall very good. The kind of work that Jamie and Monica do in terms of business development training and coaching is something that is becoming more and more prevalent. One thing I found that within the law firms where I've worked, it takes generally, and this is true of a lot of initiatives, but it takes a group or a person who has a lot of influence becoming a champion for the idea and then bringing in the resources in order to kind of make that happen. One of the issues is it becomes very expensive very quickly because it is critical that if you're doing this sort of thing, you have the ongoing coaching conversations going on too. And so there's a balancing act there in terms of how do you find a way to do it efficiently enough so that you can actually get the benefits of that. And then finally, I'd observe that when it comes to development of content and distribution of content, there's been a move toward becoming more effective, both in terms of identifying the kinds of issues that will be of greatest importance and urgency to clients, and then also in trying to close the last mile, get to the clients and have those subjects form the basis of intimate conversations with clients and prospective clients in order to actually get the true benefit, the full benefit of those kinds of activities. So all of those things, I think, they're beginning to happen, and in different firms, some of those things they're doing them better than some other ones are. But all in all, I think our industry can do and needs to do a lot better in terms of those things. And one just quick observation about that. So all these things that I was talking about, those are really the things that rainmakers, so-called rainmakers, those who, that 10% of people who account for 90% of your development of new work and everything, they kind of have always done that naturally. They've always had a sense of, I'm not trying to sell somebody something, I'm trying to help them. And so I need to understand how I can help. So anyway, it's an interesting time. There are many people within the industry who are excited to grab hold of these concepts. And I guess I've always found that there are plenty of folks who are willing. And so you can start always with the willing, and they can become the champions of further growth when you get into that kind of stuff.
Dave Southern, everybody. Well done, Dave. Thank you so much for doing this. Thanks for being part of this conversation today. It was wonderful. And thanks to the team at Nexel for supporting our series on revenue operations. And I hope everyone has a great weekend.
Thank you.